Hi everyone, welcome to The Art Remedy. My name is Britt and today we are going to dive into an amazing conversation talking about the connection of art with everyday living, healing, stress management, and self-expression. We today have an amazing guest. She is a student currently on the journey to become an art therapist located in the Maryland area. Her name is Megan Gers. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. More like
welcome to the studio?
Yeah, the studio. Welcome to the studio. I like that because we're clearly in your amazing, colorful studio. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, I appreciate it. This is an amazing meetup because funny story is we actually recorded this in the Martin Luther King Library in the podcast section. So if you're a podcaster, there's free support there, but that's just wasn't the vibe we were going for because we want to dive into art and be surrounded in a cozy space where art just feels like it's open to exploration, where it feels relaxing, where two people who may not know each other that well can dive into a topic and just let the creativity flow. Mm-hmm. So I know you're in school. Where do you go?
I'm at Notre Dame of Maryland University in their Masters of Art Therapy program.
I love it. I love it. And today we're just going to dive into some clay making.
Yeah, so we're going to work on some clay.
Okay.
I have had a few different projects going on for different classes, and I've had to come up with directives, and I've personally been very drawn to ceramics. I find it very meditative and grounding because you're literally holding something that comes from the earth. And it has wonderful texture, and you can always break it apart, put it back together, even just like wedging it.
Okay.
Just gets like that full body like into the clay.
I love that. I love you said you're holding earth. I like that. I love that. And it's like, and also what you said about you can break it apart and put it back together. Mm-hmm. Kind of like life in a sense. I love that. So let's dive in.
Yeah, let's take a chunk.
My ring.
And just start by just like wedging it, seeing how it feels, add your heat to it. You can always add a little bit of extra water.
Okay.
We've got some water here. And we also have some tools.
Cool. So how would you say you feel today?
I feel relaxed. I had a Friendsgiving celebration on Sunday, so just a few days ago, and it was just lovely having people come together, gather, eat some good food, and just reflect on the year.
Okay.
How have you been feeling?
I'm not gonna lie, it's been very heavy. Yeah. I shouldn't say heavy, it should be busy.
Yeah.
Very busy, unpredictable summer up until this very moment. Mm-hmm. Everything's all good, like a lot of things to be grateful for, but just putting a lot on my plate has been interesting as I build for my dreams and serve the people in this creative space. It's all been good because it's leading to the growth of Detox Art and now the Art Remedy podcast, but it's just been the other life things that have just been kind of taking a toll. But it's just life at this moment.
Yeah.
It's not forever. I really like this. I haven't touched clay. I don't even know how long.
Yeah.
It's so soothing.
It's so soothing. The one prompt that I've been working on in a group project with my one classmate, Jenny, we were looking at pinch pot making. Mm-hmm. So I figured we'd wedge for a little bit and then form a little pinch pot and go from there. And this is just air dry clay. It's from the brand Sculpt. Sculpt, if you want to give a sponsorship, highly recommend it.
Yes, we love it.
I would say it's probably one of the better air dry clays I've found.
Okay, that's good to know.
It doesn't break apart as love Crayola. It doesn't break apart quite the same as the Crayola air dry, which sometimes just comes a little bit easier than I would prefer.
I love that. And I guess you're saying like you can work with it because of your body heat. You're not drying it out. So
you're not drying it out. You're actually like you're making it more comfortable to work with.
I love that.
Transitioning your energy into it.
I wanted to ask that because I don't want to discourage anyone. Like if Crayola's in your budget.
Oh, Crayola's lovely. It has its place. Yes. It's just for making something that you want to use. Sometimes it crumbles just a little bit more as it's drying.
I feel like, I don't know, part of me feels like I'm making a seashell.
It could be a
like
seashell.
I need to go to the beach. I felt like I need a trip. That's the thought that I had last night. I was like, I need a vacation of a week to do absolutely nothing and just feel sand and water beneath me.
Yeah, I went on a bachelorette party weekend trip to Tybee Island in Savannah, Georgia. I had never been to Georgia prior, and I loved it.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful beach.
Was it clear? It was still dark.
It's not quite the clear water, but it was warm water.
Warm water. Ooh,
and there were so many seashells. It was beautiful.
You took some home?
I did not take any home.
No.
I realized I've taken seashells home in the past, and then I'm looking at them. I've occasionally incorporated them into some artwork, but I'm always like, oh, this could be a necklace, this could be some earrings, and I haven't gotten to those.
Got it.
So I've just been like, I'll appreciate you, I'll take a photo of you, and I'll let you stay here in your home.
And what have you learned about molding clay when it comes to school? Like, why is it that some people in sessions gravitate towards clay making over, let's say, sketching?
Yeah, so there's a whole, there's the expressive therapies continuum, and it talks about different materials, and you look at it in terms of a range from fluid materials to restrictive materials, like pen and paper. It's a fairly restrictive material. You can do a lot with it. And so when I talk about restrictive, it's not, I guess it's more so rigid. Like you're looking at a more rigid material in comparison to something like paint, or clay is somewhere in the middle. It really depends on how much fluid you add to it. So how much water you're putting in, how fluid the clay itself is becoming. But the material itself, it's very tactile. So you're coming from it from it's very sensory oriented. You're doing a lot of kinesthetic movements with it. For some people, it just really helps like bring out different emotions. And it also lets you, hi buddy, this is Pat Pat. It also lets you just ground yourself.
I love
in it.
Grounding yourself with earth. I love it.
Yeah, so it can be very just healing with the clay. I taught a ceramic wind chime class at Huswick Multi-Care Center. And so it was with older adults that are living in the nursing home side of it. And it was so lovely just seeing how into the clay making process they are, and being able to provide that space to work with a material as well as just like delve into it. And I'm also looking at doing a figure sculpting class there in February. So being able to, that'd be lovely.
I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah, so it's a very, you can sculpt with it, you can mold with it. It's also it's soothing. So you can just go with like repetitive motions such as a pinch pot, and you can get so much out of it through being able to turn something from a lump of clay into something tangible. And then it also provides a transitional object because you're eventually taking it with you. And so,
multi-purpose.
Yeah, so you can have that where it's like, oh, I remember that making that was very soothing. Or I remember making that was very emotional.
Okay.
And then you can continue to develop further meaning from it.
Exactly. I like when people can take art and it becomes a reminder.
Yeah.
As you walk past it and as life continues, because we need those moments to remind us, like you said, like it has the memories attached to it. Like during this time, this piece made me feel this way, and
how can I replicate that?
Yes. And also to continue doing aspects or outlets in life that feel like that, whether it be clay making or if you took like a sewing class or just something else that was just as soothing and exploratory.
Exactly.
I love that.
Also, there's a very you can either take away from clay, but you can also add to clay.
Okay.
So has both those like additive and subtractive properties that let you continue to explore over time.
This is nice. It's like, I don't know what's happening, but I love it. It's still is reminding me of the beach.
Yeah.
At
And maybe
first,
that's what you need. You need something soothing like the beach.
Yes. Okay. So, what is your piece telling you right now?
Right now, I think it's saying that I need to take in less. Because I feel like I am developing like a fairly like closed container. So I think it's saying that it's like I've got a lot filling me right now, and just to focus on those. I don't have, it's not looking like it's wanting to take in more, but if I wanted it to, I could open it to allow more space.
I love this. I love
What's
this.
yours telling you?
I need a trip. I need alone time. I feel like this, because I kept going like this, right? Like a wave like washes on the shore. So with me going like this, I just feel like the calmness of the water coming in and out, the tides running in and out, but also it's like almost like a cup that hasn't fully formed.
Yeah.
That needs a little bit more rebuilding.
Yeah.
So it's like the calmness of the building. There,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that because that's very accurate. Very accurate.
Yeah, it sounds like you have some rhythm going on in your life as well.
Yes. I've recently,
buddy.
you know what's funny? I recently have been on this dive in researching about the connection between self-care habits and, how do I say this? Like habits and how do we maintain them?
Yeah.
And then when we do fall off, what is it that we need to get back on? Or what's the trick that we need mentally, physically, or emotionally to actually not even look at as a stop, as like a breaking point? Like, like
how to get into your routine.
Like how to get into it or how to keep it. Like, I'm really researching the connection between those right now. And I just feel like I have always had a hard time just managing a schedule, period.
Yeah.
And being someone who's like building but also having a part-time job and taking in commissions, I'm kind of like a tunnel vision person.
Yeah.
So it's like, how does someone keep it together? Anger. For when we first started this, I feel like this could really be beneficial to someone who has like anger or just a little bit of frustration. And why do you think that is?
Yeah, so sublimation is a big thing that we talk about. Like, how can you transfer your emotions into what you're doing? And that's where I really feel like wedging clay comes in, because it is so full body. So these were 2 pieces of clay, but if you wanted to start wedging it, you would have to like use all of your strength.
Okay.
In order to get it in. Now, typically this would be done on a wedging table, which has a slight slope. Okay. You can also do it against any table, but in more traditional ceramic studios, you'll have like a plaster table, and as you would wedge, it would go down to the slope, which would help like kind of ease that flow. But a lot of people, when wedging, this is gonna be loud, you also like to slam it.
Okay.
I don't mind if clients throw things in safe ways.
Okay.
So if you feel like you need to throw something, I would much rather you throw a ball of clay at table than throw a marker at your peer's head.
Ooh,
for example. That's coming from like inpatient psych, where it's like, okay, you have a lot of strong personalities with like big emotions that need to find an outlet. And if we can find that outlet in ceramics and we can transfer it into wedging things and throwing it on the table, even just like tearing clay apart, that feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and like especially like this is a little bit drier because I've had it for a while, so it takes a bit of effort. And like if you want to try one of these like balls, because it hasn't been like super worked with lately, then it takes that effort, and that just feels good. Like you can like get a lot out.
Yes. I think I'm gonna go buy some clay.
You should buy some clay.
Yes. And what clay should I buy? What's the best clay?
So there's this one which is air dry, but I did also get it air dry terracotta from Artist Craftsman Supply. They just had some on their sale shelf, and I was like, well, try this. So you can either do like a low fire with that. There is also Clay Works down in Virginia. In the Alexandria area, which I recommend. And they'll be able to help you kind of figure out like, well, what kind of clay do you want? If you want a darker body, they would have that. If you want, which is like a lot more like iron rich, or if you want something with speckles, and that can be very satisfying. Also, you could make a representation of like, what does your anger look like? And you could make whatever that looks like. So whether it's building a figure of that representation, if it's just like twisting things and piecing them together, and your anger looks like a blobby little snowman or something.
For representation.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, what does this guy need?
Okay.
And it's just like, okay, well, I think he might need some arms. He needs to be able to reach for what his needs are so he can have his needs met.
I love that. This outside dialogue.
Yeah, so you're able to have that sort of like that distance of like, oh, I can now see my anger outside of me, and I can start talking about what this figure needs, which I might not realize in the moment is what I actually need, but we can talk about it that way and then tie it back in to be like, okay, well, if your anger needs water, well, let's give him some water. Let's start making little things that fit this figure. And that can also be done for any emotion. So you could like represent like, what does your anxiety look like through a physical form? And maybe that is even just through patterns. So it doesn't always have to be super representational. Maybe I want to use a loop tool. So if your anxiety doesn't necessarily look like something representational, like a figure, maybe it more so looks like a pattern, and you're able to start taking off little chunks. What does that process tell us? Maybe it's that our anxiety is taking away a lot of things that we want to be able to do, or maybe it's taking away our capacity to feel the joy in the moments because it's taking up too much headspace or body space. And then it's like, okay, well, how can we help soothe that? And maybe it's through adding little pause points in our pattern. So you're able to start looking at it through more of a metaphor sense. Yeah, so we're able to start looking at our emotions outside of us through creating physical representations of it and talking about solutions externally, which we can then bring back internally.
I love the idea of detaching from ourselves, which can make it easier probably to accept and see ourselves outside of ourselves, which makes it easier, more does it make it more relatable for like the person, especially like in a therapy setting?
I think it makes it easier to talk about because it's less personalized in that way. Art is an extension of ourselves. So when we create something that is coming, like that now becomes an extension of you. So in art therapy, as opposed to traditional talk therapy, in traditional talk therapy, you would have yourself and the client. In art, you have yourself, the client, and the art. So it makes it so you can talk about things with some distance and use that as like a way to further reflect. And then depending on the client, depending on how they relate to their emotions, if someone's very focused on everything and it's just kind of like there's a lot of emotion that's too much for them to contain, you're able to create spaces for containment for those emotions. And if a client is struggling to access those emotions, you're able to slowly work through the expressive therapies continuum, which I mentioned earlier. If we're in a very cognitive state, everything's very pen and paper, well, maybe we add a marker in, and then we add an oil pastel. And so we're able to slowly help kind of unravel to a point where they're able to start seeing their emotions, feeling their emotions. But that's all very, like, it's very paced.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. We're going to dive in more about you. So stay tuned for that segment. Hi everyone, welcome to The Art Remedy. We are talking with art therapist on the rise, Megan Gerst. Thank you, Megan, for being here and allowing us to be in your colorful art studio.
Thanks for being
We just embarked on this amazing clay journey, and I just want to say thank you for that. I feel a lot more at ease, and I really wanted to know, how did you get into art therapy? Like, what was the epiphany that you had for your life?
Yeah, so that started when I was in high school. Shout out Howard County, Hammond High. They had a research program where you could start to research sort of any topic. And I was curious as I think I was a sophomore, and I was like, what can I do with art that is also helping people? And like, what are the possibilities out there outside of being an artist as your sole job? Because I wasn't sure. I was like, art has been like my personal thing. I don't know, do I want to share it with the world? I was like trying to get people to buy my art. Did people want to? I wasn't sure.
Okay.
I stumbled upon art therapy, and I delved into that as a topic. Both my sophomore and my junior year, I was researching what does it take to open a bakery. I learned that takes a lot of time and money, and it's not guaranteed. So I was like, maybe for retirement.
Restaurant businesses are tough.
They are. And I was like, I just want to feed people. I don't know if I have the business acumen to want to start that right away.
Okay. Retirement goals. Yes. Okay.
Still a retirement goal.
Okay.
Someday I will open a bakery that feeds people.
But right now you're feeding.
You're feeding artists.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna apply to art therapy and at the time it was still fairly unclear how exactly do you get from regular college to art therapy. So I applied to a combination of a few schools that had an art therapy undergrad specialization, which is kind of like gives you all the prereqs, similar to doing pre-med, which I ended up doing.
Okay.
I had failed art AP tests, and my little soul could not take it as a high schooler. And so I was like, okay, this feels too personal. How do I go to something that's a little bit less personal? And I was like, science. Science is where it's at. I love science. I love science.
I mean, I love science too, cool. But I thought you were going to say art therapy, so.
Yeah.
I see.
So my life took a little bit of a detour throughout my undergrad. I went to Carleton University. I did their biology program with an autopsy specialization. And I was like, cool, this is very hands-on science. I was determined to become a doctor because science and helping people equals being a doctor. And I was like, cool, I love medicine. Medicine's done a lot of good for me as a recipient of doctors. And I was determined that I was like, okay, I'm gonna become a doctor. I'm gonna go help people. I'm gonna save lives. It's gonna be great. And then I tried applying to medical school.
Okay.
That was hard. I didn't quite understand, and I feel like this is a lack of, I should have probably done more research on like what does it take, and starting much earlier in life. Doing a lot more like prep for just like making sure I understand everything and like fully learn things along the way, and knowing how to study for the long term. I was good at studying for the semester, and then I would occasionally have to like relearn things, which does not bode well for taking the MCAT. God bless people that can take the MCAT and do very well. I'm not great at standardized testing. I think I've gotten better over the years, but it just wasn't quite how my brain worked. And
I feel like we're the same.
Yeah. I was like, I can appreciate it. I can appreciate why they have it in place. I feel like I was struggling along the path, and I was becoming a lot more depressed and a lot more anxious. And I like felt very certain. I was like, cool, art's gonna be my own therapy along the way. I'm going to do great things, and art will be there for me.
be there for you while you do all
Yeah.
this other, you had these detours going on,
Yeah.
figuring out where do you serve, where will you excel well. So
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the pressure, yes, of college is always a thing. I just wanted to see if you had like this notion in your head, like I have to be successful, whatever that means, air quotes.
Yeah.
By a certain age. So it was more like the pressure of like figuring it out.
Yeah, I think it was like the pressure of figuring it out and thinking that things had to go into a certain order in order to accomplish everything that I want to accomplish in life.
I see.
And I feel like that's part of just how the United States sets things up in terms of, and just like how our society works in terms of like, okay, we need to go to college, get a job, or go for more college, and then have a job that you're at for ideally the rest of your working life. Which just isn't how it worked for me.
Okay.
I got rejected from medical school the 2 or 3 times I applied, and then I had to do, well, then COVID happened. So then I had applied to medical school during COVID as well, 2020, but I also hit my lowest point mentally, and I started therapy, and I started taking a look. It's like, okay, I need to reevaluate. Clearly, the universe does not want me to go to medical school. I'm hearing that loud and clear with like 30 rejections and kind of reevaluating. It's like, okay, what have I done in life up to this point, work-wise, that I've enjoyed? And my favorite job was a mental health worker at Shepherd Pratt.
Nice.
It was a stressful job because like you're wanting to help people that are in times of crisis, but like I really found so much reward within it, and I loved running groups. But I also kind of hit the max point of like, okay, I am not gonna be able to, like, I hit my ceiling.
Okay.
So I need to figure out like how can I move, like where it's like I take those aspects that I really like, but how can I learn more to do more with that? And that led me back to art therapy. I feel like I was kind of lacking art in my life in the capacity that I wanted it. So it's kind of like a full circle experience that led me back to a path. And I think I'm much more suited for that path now than if I had gone straight from high school to undergrad to grad school for art therapy. Because I feel like I have a lot more life experience. I feel like I've become a lot more confident in my art standing on its own, that if people are like, hey, those are some really ugly jellyfish, I can be like, that's okay, they're my jellyfish.
And your opinion is, have you learned in school or just like in volunteering work or just in your own practice, how have you learned to cope with your energy levels and also while serving?
Yeah, so that's actually been a big topic that we've talked about throughout school, is talking a lot about self-care. How do you take in and hold emotions for people, but then also release them? So you're not taking in everyone's pain, everyone's trauma, and then just holding them forever, because that eats away at you.
Yes.
And that leads to burnout. So, which is a huge issue for all like service providers in terms of burning out due to hours, due to staffing. We had to come up with a metaphor for that containment process. So I kind of view myself as like a terrarium. And so it's like I can take in through the light, I can take in through the outside environment, but I'm still a self-contained system. So I can filter it and I can filter it back out to people, but I'm also still me, and it can impact me, like, okay, well, how much light is coming in or how much am I taking in from people, and that will change like how I grow, but then also being able to release it so I could uncap myself and pour it back out. But I also need to have enough resources for myself that I'm not wilting at the same time. So for me, those practices look like going to therapy myself, having a regular therapist. I recommend that for everyone. Everyone find a therapist. It's a journey. It takes a while to find the right person.
Yes, that part. It takes a while. It's like dating.
It is.
It's not going to happen on the first time. Just keep looking.
And if it does, stick with it. Keep that person. Yeah, so having therapy. I also like just pouring into my hobbies, pouring into my well-being as a whole. So taking time to go to the gym, even if like yesterday I only did 20 minutes, but I still went because I was like, if I don't keep that as part of my routine, it's easier to fall out of that routine.
Got it.
So, and I find I'm a lot happier when I'm lifting weights. It just feels better.
Yes, the endorphins, it's moving.
Yeah. So taking the time, even if it's just for like a short little bit, or like having a dedicated studio space. It's not like within my living room, so I don't have to clean it up right away if I'm in the middle of a project. I can keep my colored pencils kind of sprawled out in a way that is conducive to whatever project I'm working on, or I can have paint that is just like easily accessible for whatever that project is. So making things easier, and also accepting help.
Accepting help.
It's hard because it's like I know I can do a lot of things on my own, but if a person is offering to make it easier for me in some way, just saying yes and not being like, it's okay, I've got this. Because it's like I could, but I could also feel a lot more at peace if I accept that help.
I love that. You said a lot of things that resonate with me personally.
Yeah.
I know in our separate conversations, I think it was you mentioned even now and then, it was something about space, having a designated space that's not attached to like where you probably do work if you're a student or remote worker, or you know, your dining room table for whatever, because it relates to. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like your mind sets up like
the parameters of what this space is designated for. Okay.
So like if you do work from bed, or if you're scrolling on your phone a lot in bed, it's going to be harder to go to sleep because your mind is associated like, oh, we're all firing now because we're ready to look at something. We're ready for that dopamine hit that your phone shows you, or we're ready to watch TV because that's what this space is for. And you're like, but now it's for bed. And your mind's like, okay, it's going to take a while to switch. And I noticed it's like, okay, if I'm trying to write a paper from the couch, I'm not nearly as successful as if I write it at my desk or a chair in a different spot of that couch even, because the neurons that wire together fire together. And your mind is like already doing some of those firings because it tries to be as efficient as possible.
So definitely I recommend everyone finding a space in your house that feels like a getaway, a retreat. Even if it's a corner.
Yeah, it doesn't have to require a big space to do. It could even be, I know when working with teens, a lot of them were like, okay, but like my room's the only place that I get peace. And I was like, okay, so instead of lying down in bed in the same direction that you go to fall asleep, could you sit sideways on your bed, or could you lie down in the opposite direction, just to try to add some sort of cueing process.
I love that
for yourself.
I love that because we don't always have the access or the means to get a studio space or go to the coffee house all the time of our choice. Like it could be closed, so it's like, what do we do within our own
within what you currently have.
What you have to make it your own.
I
remember one time, what did I do? I turned a corner into, Beyonce had this MTV Cribs thing where she had like the pillow corner. So like I made literally a corner just where I would read or color, meditate. It just became like my self-care space, and it was behind a couch. So like from like the viewpoint, you can't see it unless you come around the corner. So
it's like a nice little secret hideout.
Yes. So it definitely just felt like a retreat within my own space. So I hope that encourages someone to use what you have and just make it special.
There are a lot of lovely, just like finding like online, different creators that show it's like, well, how can I utilize X amount of square feet
Yes.
for X amount of things,
Yes.
and doing it with what I already own. So finding those creative reuses just from other providers that are doing the same thing.
I love that. There was a show that said, oh gosh, I can't remember right now. It's like Flip My House, or it's like they have all these cool tricks to like let tables fold out.
Yeah.
It's Hack My Home. That's what it was called. I binged that show.
Love that.
It was so good. I'm like, look at the tiny room. And it just unfolds into like this whole organization. Whenever I get a space, I'm like, I want them to hack my home. What do you say to people who are a little apprehensive about therapy? Like, what could art therapy do as opposed to traditional therapy?
Yeah, so I think art therapy comes from a perspective of we might not have the words to describe what we're going through, but we have innate abilities to show it. And art therapy isn't so much about the outcome. We can aspire to have a very aesthetic outcome, but that isn't that important. It's more so about the process and being able to, like, we do a lot of scribble drawings. Scribbling is so helpful. Just taking the time just to like move your arms in big motions, or even just like tiny quick motions, can get so much out, and it can also tell the therapist so much. If you are asked to do a scribble drawing and your scribble only takes up a top little tiny bit of the page, it's like, okay, cool, we have a lot of defenses up, we might not have a lot of energy, we might not feel like we're worth taking up an entire page to scribble.
Got it.
And that can tell us a lot in terms of like a starting point. So it's like, okay, well, what if we just make lines going across, and we just, or make a one line going across the page, and we just get something onto there.
Yes.
How can we then feel like we are deserving of an entire page?
Taking up space and moving.
You don't have to apologize for taking up space on the earth.
Exactly.
You're worthy because you're just a human being.
I can actually clap a snack now because I didn't have
Nice.
to play it. Yes. Have you heard the term creative wellness?
Yes, but I don't know if I know it in terms of the way you're saying it.
What do you think?
Creative wellness is just like being able to take time to foster creativity in order to promote well-being.
Yes, I'm here for you. I actually looked up the definition a couple days ago, so like, it came to my spirit just like organically.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing this amazing creator, Lindsay the Creative. I just love your page. She curates music.
Yeah.
And I'm a big lyrics person.
Love
And her page is like so beautifully organized or curated.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. But she also had it in her title. I was like, oh, she gets it. Creative wellness. I was like, okay. But the definition by Google says it's about nurturing, you know, your creative self and your ability to continue in well-being through the arts. So I really love the word nurturing in it all.
Yeah.
Because before it just seemed a little, not cliche, but as if only certain people could be in this creative wellness, that they have to be extra creative. I feel like as I continue to mold this path that I'm on, I'm understanding that creative wellness for me is a combination of daily pauses and allowing art to be that pause for you, and also finding appreciation of different forms of art by reworking even what the word art means, because I feel like sometimes we get caught up thinking it's playmaking or painting or drawing, when there's so many different forms of art. There's dancing, song, bead making, like what we bring to life is you know, our creative outlet. So it's been interesting, but I'm really like receptive to it. I really love the idea of art therapy. What do you like most about being at Notre Dame?
I really love my cohort. We've become a nice family. It's 10 of us, and we have a very active group chat.
I love that.
Where it's just like, okay, cool. Is everybody on the same page? How are people holding up today? This person had this project going on, so we're all going to be like you've got this.
Okay.
And very encouraging. And then also, like, my one classmate asked, like, hey, does anybody have anything sweet? I've been craving something sweet all day. And like 5 of us were like, we got you. And so we just had like a nice little, like, we all had sweets for her that day. And it's just like developed some really like beautiful friendships, and it's become a really beautiful community where it's like, okay, there are going to be aspects to any program where it's like, I don't love this aspect, but we're going through it as a family. And I think that's really beautiful. Also, just the fact that it is only 10 of us and we're in classes, I feel like I get to ask a lot of questions, but we all come from different backgrounds, so we still have a lot of diversity of thought in terms of like, okay, I'm learning a lot from everyone based on their past experiences and all of the different internship sites. And it's just been it's fostered a lovely dynamic that's really helpful. Yeah, beyond the books.
I love that. I love the intimacy part of it all, because you can be heard, you can hear, and get to know your classmates. When will you finish?
So I'm going to be graduating in August 2026.
Yes. And I wish you well.
Thank you.
You're almost there. And I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. I hope you understood art therapy from a very amazing deep dive. Thank you, Megan, for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for joining.
Yes. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Like, subscribe, share. This has been an amazing conversation, and I'll see you in the next one.